Okay, welcome this afternoon. We are going to do a sound check for those that are online. Rob Moore, can you hear us?
I can, Commissioner. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you. Again, welcome this afternoon to our Board of County Commissioners meeting. We have a number of items on our agenda. We usually start with a prayer, a reading, or a thought. We look for those in the audience who would like to participate with us and either give a prayer, reading, or a thought. And then second, for somebody that'd be willing to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Is there anybody who would like to volunteer for a prayer, reading, or thought? Or the pledge, to lead us in the pledge. Anybody to lead us in the pledge? Seeing none? Oh, I see one hand partially going up here. Which one? There you go. That's the way to put it up. What? Either one. Do you want to start us with the prayer, reading, or thought then? Why don't you come on up here to the microphone so those online can hear us, and then I'll be glad to lead us in the pledge.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for this opportunity to join together and engage in our civic duties, and grateful for the blessing it is to live in this country. And we love thee, Father. We're grateful for thy Son, Jesus Christ. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. We tell us your name so we can get you on the record, and then you're permanently on there.
Adam Burke.
Adam Burke. Thank you, Adam. For one nation under God, if you will stand and recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. We do have a recognition. Commissioner Sakovich, we'll turn the time over to you.
This is for Chris Buckley. Alex Redmond wrote this as an endorsement, along with Mike Hickley and Terry Lawrence. I write to nominate Chris Buckley for Utah County Employee of the Month for the month of July 2021. Ms. Buckley is a victim coordinator in the Utah County Attorney's Office. She serves as liaison between victims and the prosecuting attorneys. She assists with victim services included but not limited to trial preparation, counseling, and general support and coordination. Her efforts with victims and witnesses and their families in difficult criminal cases makes the difference between success and failure. Without her seasoned and insightful contributions, many cases would fail to make it to trial due to wavering or non-existent victim participation. That's huge. Her ability to reassure, support, and guide victims is a driving force behind their confidence and trust in criminal justice system. Those that often go voiceless in their lives find great support from Ms. Buckley, which enables them to stand before a jury and declare critical truths that help better our community. While Ms. Buckley has been at this commendable work for close to a decade, it is in the latter half of that time that she's made specific contributions in one case that stands out. She's been working with a victim and her family for over 5 years, facilitating involvement and continuous support, which efforts culminated with a jury trial in June. While the attorneys on the case changed various times, Ms. Buckley's involvement remained constant and steadfast. Without her, the child victim with special needs would have not been able to successfully testify. That hits home for me personally. Thank you. This victim required extra efforts to facilitate testimony and ensured continued participation. The efforts on this case cannot be overstated. She made it feasible for this young lady to take a stand and let the jury know of the wrongs committed against her. Great societal good is the product of Ms. Buckley's often unseen and unheralded efforts. The county attorney's office relies on her exceptional devotion and duty, and without her and those like her, the crime victims of the county would potentially find themselves voiceless and without critically necessary support through a complicated and overwhelming process no one victim is elected to enter. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Wait, hang on. hang on, don't leave yet.
Chris,
Oh, we give you a chance to speak, but I'm always curious at what excuse was made to get you to come to the commission meeting too, if you want to voice it.
Katie Fox lied to me.
she should
Good
get an
job,
employee of the
Katie.
month too then, if that's the case.
Well, it's probably payback because I lied to her a few years ago and got her here too. So I suppose that's fair. No, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm a little shocked. Usually I'm a little more savvy than that, but Katie's obviously skilled at what she does. So I appreciate those kind words. Thank you to everybody. And gosh, if we only had a few more victim coordinators, it would be super to help out with all the victims that we serve. But I'm grateful to do it, and obviously not in it for the money or the glory, but it is nice to be recognized. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. We have some stuff for you.
I wish this was key to the city. And there goes half of the audience.
Okay, for informational purposes, we do have a lot of items on our agenda. You'll notice that most of them are listed under our regular agenda, that our consent agenda is open. We are going to now move things from our regular, I assume that we'll move things from our regular agenda onto consent, and we'll do that by not holding them. So if we hold an item, that means it'll be left on regular agenda to be voted on. All other items that will move to consent will either be approved to, ratified, or agreed to as stated in their agenda item. So if you're here for an item and you're looking at the number and the number's held, that means that it will stay on our regular agenda to be talked about and then voted on. So looking at that, let's go 1 through 10. Are there any items 1 through 10 that we need to hold for discussion?
Double checking, but I don't think so.
I don't have any.
I have none.
None?
I have none either.
Okay, items 11 through 20.
Like the table number 18 for a closed session.
You'd like to table that one? You want to table that one for closed?
Yeah.
Okay, I think there are people here for that one too. Okay, okay.
And on Zoom, so
And on Zoom, okay. So we can table that one. What that means is that we'll hold that after we go through all the business, then we'll go into our closed meetings and
no, will they have a chance to
And-
speak then?
they'll be able to, yeah,
If we come back, yes.
yeah. So you want to table it till after closed, or table it?
Table it and then come back to
Okay.
regular agenda.
So that's what that means. I know you're here for item number 18. So we'll go through all of our regular agenda. We'll go to a closed meeting. You'll have the opportunity to speak in a closed meeting. Then we'll come out of the closed meeting and have a vote. Okay. We do have to take action on number 17, so we should hold that one. And also number 16 needs action as well.
Okay.
And on number 14, maybe if we can hold number 14 just for a quick question that I have on that one, clarifying
Okay.
question. Any others?
No.
So you're
Okay.
going through 20?
21 through 30? Assuming we'll need to hold number 30.
Yeah, I'd like to hold that. There's a couple of questions I have.
Okay, and I have a couple there. Any others?
Nope.
Okay, 31 through 40. I don't have any on those. Any of those?
I have none.
I had none either.
Okay. 42
41, 42.
through, or 41, sorry, 41 through 49.
Not worried about that. Hold on there. I will have some. Give me.
I'd like to clarify number 47. So I'd like to table that.
I think we
Or
should
not-
table that one till after close so we can have some discussion on a personal
Yes.
basis.
Yeah.
Is that-
Well, I also think that anytime we're adding a staffing position, we should discuss it. So I'm fine talking about it in closed session, but I think that we should discuss it in a public meeting since
Yeah. It'll come back on.
after closed session, there's usually nobody here. So I'm wondering if we can't discuss the addition of the position in an open meeting and then
What it
bring to
is.
closed session or on who is going to fill those positions. So I would like to discuss it and then also bring it into closed session as well.
So to maybe have, I'm just trying to find a balance on this. So maybe if we hold it for a recap of what this is from Ralph Barnes, and then we could at that point table it till after. Okay,
Correct.
That,
Yeah,
that
that's what I'm
sounds,
thinking.
that
Fine.
sounds fine to
Yep.
me.
The previous ones are also positions, but 41, 42, those are from, and 43 actually are from school grants, school district grants. They're funding those, not from the county. And number 44 is from Eagle Mountain is funding that. And 45 is Vineyard.
Right, and those are contractual, so I don't have any issues with those because
Right,
they're
I don't have any
contractual.
issues with those.
Right.
No,
No, I don't think we need to hold those.
it's just a note. That
just a
these
note.
are
I'll
these do
verbalize.
not hit
Yeah.
hit the general fund at all.
Right.
There's no increase.
They're part of a signed contract with other entities.
And as a note on number 46, there's no increase in funding because he's freezing a position, moving money from
Right.
that position to other positions. So there's zero influence on taxes on number 46.
Right. Okay. So noted on those. So we will hold number 47 with a possible after that to table when needed,
If needed, yep.
and then hold number 48 and 49.
Yes.
Okay. And then number 50
Is needed,
is needed.
yep,
What's
right after this
any others,
meeting.
Dave?
Yeah, 51 and 53, 52 you can see, right?
Okay, so we'll leave it on consent to strike number 52, and we will set the date, time, and location for a closed meeting to discuss the items listed in number 50, number 51, and number 53 for after this meeting. All right, Alice, can you make some sense of that?
I'm going to try.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I have us holding 14, 16, 17. We're going to table 18. We are holding number 30. There we go, wow, okay, then we're holding number 47, 48, 49. Holding the closed meeting number 50 as stated, 51 as stated. We're striking 52 and holding 53 as stated.
Perfect. Okay, so to reiterate, those items that we held or tabled will be items that we'll talk through and discuss and vote on, possibly vote on. And the rest of them, the other items, will go on our consent agenda to be either approved, ratified, or agreed to as the agenda item has stated. So if you're here for any of those, we got it done. So let's go back now to item number 14, which is to approve and authorize the amendment to agreement number 2021-461 enrollment application. I don't know who worked on this one.
This is Ben Vanoy with the attorney's office. I can answer questions.
We are agreeing in this contract that we are responsible for any uncollected amounts owed. That seems a little high level of risk for us to assume. What's kind of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and we actually cleared that up, and that was a misunderstanding on the health department's part. The letter that accompanies that enrollment application, we're actually asking that to be stricken and not approved, and that is the letter that we thought that Medicare required, but they clarified that we don't. So that is actually no longer the case, that we will be responsible for those things. What this is the county provides the teaching and host prevention programs, and we then bill Medicare. So it goes one way and not the other. We clarified that up with striking that letter as part of this agenda item.
Okay. So if we were to approve this item as currently stated in the documentation, it'll take care of that concern, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so long as we can just remove the letter on the agenda system, it's titled Letter to Accompany Medicare Enrollment. If we
Okay.
remove that letter, then we're good.
So as part of your motion, you need to strike the letter as being not approved.
Okay. Okay, any other discussions on that?
No, so we're striking that specific letter, but approving the
Approving the rest.
content of the
Correct.
agreement. Okay. I would make a motion that we approve agenda item 14 then.
And also striking the letter, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I will second the motion to approve 14 with striking the letter.
All right, I've got a motion and a second to approve agenda item number 14, and also with striking not approving the letter attached to it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0. Okay, so number 16 is to receive a recommendation proposal for an RFP. Robert?
Yeah, this
RFP is
was,
a request for proposal. Sorry, sometimes we put that out there. RFP, request for proposal.
yeah, this
And-
was a request for proposals for inmate tablet services. We only received one proposal from Securus Technologies. They looked over the proposal and considered it to be satisfactory, so they're requesting your approval to go forward with them.
And I'm fine with that. Any other questions on that?
How long was the RFP circulating?
It's through SciQuest or U3P, which is a state online platform that vendors use. We actually had quite a bit of interest in it. Quite a few vendors had asked us questions about it, but in the end, only one submitted a proposal.
And that one proposal seemed in line with reasonable pricing and
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no other questions,
I'll make a motion to adopt or approve agenda item 16.
and stating who we're awarding it to,
Oops, what was the name of that again?
Securus.
Securus?
Yep.
Awarding to Securus.
and I will second that motion.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second that we receive the recommended proposal to select Securus Technologies as that vendor. Is there any negotiation? Usually we have to put on there's negotiation after that. Is there any on this one, or is it pretty blank? Is it?
I actually don't know if there's going to be negotiation involved or not.
Okay.
But we have,
Send forward
it
the
pretty
recommendation
straightforward?
for possible, we could say send forward the recommendation for with possible negotiation.
I just didn't want to leave that out if there was any negotiation that needed to
I
happen
would suggest
after.
you just add that in because it still has to come back to approve the agreement.
the contract, the actual contract.
Yeah, as far as the negotiation for the actual, sorry, my name is Lieutenant Jared Jarvis with the Sheriff's Office. I'm over the Securus contract that we have with the phones, and I've been working with Robert Baxter on doing this, getting this proposal, this RFP ready. Is that better?
That's better. Just for those that are online, they wouldn't be able to hear you.
It's perfect size for him.
Take it down.
You can take it down. There you go.
Anyway, There's actually no more proposal. It's all revenue-based. It's a revenue generator. It doesn't, any of the services that Securus brings in is paid for by the inmates, and the revenue that's generated that we get, the jail gets, goes into the inmate trust fund and can only be spent to fund different things for the inmates. So as far as negotiation, there's going to be no more. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah.
It does,
So,
yeah.
so we could, Dave, is that all right then? We leave that off, or should we
That's
just?
fine.
Okay. So I do have a motion and a second that we've received the recommendation for the inmate tablet services and awarded that to Securus Technologies. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Number 17 is to receive a recommendation proposal for an RFP, another request for proposal for dental service, inmate dental services. Robert.
Yes, this one, actually, we received two proposals. So there was a committee that evaluated these two proposals, and it was a unanimous decision with, I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, it's Klein something.
RL Klein Associates and
Yes.
Associates? Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Yep.
Any questions to that one?
No, there were several people that bid on that, right?
Just two.
Oh, right.
And they're both actually from out of state. But I guess they subcontracted out, and we'll see how it works.
Who's the one who was awarded again?
R.L. Klein.
R.L. Klein, okay.
I was going to say they're doing dental by Zoom now. That's amazing.
Where are they located?
Technology.
Yeah.
Well, I
Wow.
don't.
I'm Dale Bench, Health Services Administrator of Medical. R.L. Klein's out of Maryland.
Maryland.
Yeah.
Okay.
How are they going to, they have a branch out here, I guess.
What they do is they hire local dentists, so they just kind of
So they were subcontracting
they
out.
manage.
Okay.
They're like a management company that will, and that's what the contract is. So they're just managing local dentists to come out and provide services to jails.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. There are questions? The motion, make sure and put R.L. Klein Associates
Yeah,
as the,
I'll move to accept the RFP in number 16 with R.L. Klein.
17,
17,
sorry.
sorry, 17 with R.L. Klein.
Oh, I can second that motion.
I got a motion and a second that we've received that proposal and have accepted R.L. Klein and Associates as the vendor. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Number 18 is tabled for now. Okay, number 30 is next. Number 30 is to approve property tax actions, including in the recommendation letter. And Commissioner Sakovic or Commissioner Gardner, do you have any on those? I've got a couple.
There's four I'm asking about, and that one would be Maxwell is the first one.
Same as yours.
In looking at the attorney's recommendations that we go ahead and abate the tax penalty and applicable interest, given the reasoning behind it, that the item that they listed was shown twice on our 2019 return, done in error. They had some medical issues that they had to address, and so they were a little delay getting to us, and they're asking that be credited back. And I just wanted to say that I would like to approve that particular one, their request. And that basically follows the attorney's recommendation.
Okay.
So that one, if we leave it on, it will go as
Yeah,
approved.
it'll pass.
It'll
Adam Beck,
pass.
County Attorney's Office.
Right.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Any others?
I had, the next one would be JLC. Again, the county attorney finds that there was an error on our work with this. Mailing address update was an issue, so there was a delay. And they were asking that they have theirs also approved, asking abatement and refund of fees, penalties, and interest, if there's any assessed on the parcel. And I'm wanted to recommend that we go with the attorney's recommendation. I said that word twice. I need to get to go back to my English class. I suggest we go with the attorney's recommendation on that one. So I'd like to approve the attorney's and the appellant's request on JLC.
Right, and I think if we leave that on,
Correct, yeah.
that will go through as approved.
Yep.
That was my understanding.
Okay. And then I have an Eastman. The claimant says that the audit in 2020 says that the furniture was valued at $14,495. When they received the furniture, bought the furniture in 2016, they paid $2,500 for it. And so I'm inclined to go with their findings on that particular one as well.
So just a little bit of background on that. So the county reviewed that, reviewed their initial disclosure, and it appeared as if they were underreporting. And so we referred it up to the state to do an audit. And the state reached out to the property owner so that they could share their disclosures so they could be informed in the audit. They didn't participate in that. And so the amount that is shown here is based off of the state's. Property owner again did not participate in that. And so that is why our recommendation is that it's denied because it's a valuation issue and they didn't raise it when they should have.
Do we know why they didn't participate with the state on this, work with the state?
We don't know.
There was also no contact from them, no response from the Eastmans to the state?
We were told that the state reached out.
Right.
But
There's no response back to the state.
Correct.
How long ago was that?
I'm not certain on the date.
Okay.
But if the state goes through an audit on that, they're probably looking at the value of it as well, right? And they determined what that value was.
Yeah.
Did they have receipts that showed that they paid $2,500 for the furniture?
That hasn't been provided to us. That's just what they disclosed to us after the audit.
It would have been nice if they would have taken, if they had receipts like that, it'd been nice if they would have taken that to the state
Yeah,
to show.
because it would
right?
at least weigh in their favor anyway.
That's what I was thinking too.
But I did have that one circled as a question myself personally on that. I'm just wondering, commissioners, on that one though, with the lack of participation, in the states, especially if they have that information, it's really it's hard for me to find a finding, to go ahead and abate it when.
Well, yeah, and if they haven't responded to the state and if they have not provided receipts, if it's a business, you're going to keep the receipts for a while, then I'm inclined to deny that appeal.
Is that, yeah. Yeah, I look at that and think that, well, then, like you say, if there are receipts, then we haven't seen the receipts and the state hasn't seen the receipts. And so,
And they haven't responded to the state.
Right.
And that's
Especially
what's
on an audit.
a little troubling.
So we can we can leave that one as is.
that one.
If
Yep.
it sounds like we're in that one, okay?
So I will go ahead and change that to deny. Okay. And the last one that I have at least is Murdoch Hyundai. They do have, I know the address where they're located because I've bought cars from them, so it's full disclosure. I've not had any donations from them. But there is a conflict on the addresses, so that's why I'm left a little confused by. Because on their state tax notice, it has the 273 South State Street, which they vacated some years ago. And they're now in Linden at that new address right across from Highway 15. Could you provide some additional insights on that one?
Yeah, so the county's position is that that we sent those notices based off of the vesting document, the warranty deed. They did say that they had been receiving it at this new address. We don't know quite certain how they got from there to the new location, but we've continued to send them to the address on that warranty deed for quite some time.
Yeah, I see that.
And so
I wonder if it's the postal system that is forwarding. They probably put a forwarding address with the postal system. They probably have a sunset clause as to how often they will continue to forward it, and they just didn't fix that part of it. Human error.
We're obligated to send it to that notice that's on the deed. That's the notice they give to us, and until they update and then give us a different address, that's where we have to send it.
Yeah, regardless of what the post office does, we have to send it to
We
that
send it-
address.
It's the owner's obligation to give us the address that they want it sent to, and we go on the vesting deed until we're notified otherwise.
Okay. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
That is a tough one.
Yeah. But we've been sending to the same address for how long?
I think it was 5 years.
The 5 years?
Let me
Yeah.
see.
And things have been paid off that same address for the last 5 years?
correct.
That's what makes it tough.
Yeah.
Might have been the financial officer or the auditor or whoever handles their books. Was a clerical error? Is that understating the
side.
issue?
Yeah, but the key is that it would
Their
be on
side.
their side, that we followed our obligation. So as we look at that, I mean, especially for a company, I think I tend to have more sympathy for an individual who is trying to navigate this on their own, but for someone who that's literally their job, and they, it worked for 5 years, I tend to have less sympathy on that.
So it is interesting. It is interesting that says that tax notices have been sent to an address that we have not been at since 2005.
Yes.
And I mean, this is in the owner statement, right? So if the tax, but they haven't been delinquent for since 2005.
No.
So if things have been paid, 2006 and onward.
Correct.
Right.
So I'm just trying to look through how, and then it
I
says-
look at it and there's several issues there. One is if the tax notices have been going somewhere else since 2006, then they've had 15 years to update their address, right? They've had 15 years to update their address because this isn't a new thing. And then also, they've been paying their taxes for 15 years without getting the tax notice. So what changed this year? Because it certainly wasn't us.
Yeah, here it says that, it says they didn't get a notice for 2019, 2020, yet they said that all taxes have been paid in full up with that exception, so.
Right. So I'm saying, I feel like there's a gap.
Those 2 years seem to be unique, and
And I just want to point out, we've got a special warranty deed here that shows that that same address, that the one in Orem, South State Street, which was recorded back in 2013. So it's been around for a while.
Wait, so to clarify that, they submitted something to us in 2013 to the address that we've been sending the notices to, that they claim they haven't been at since 2006.
It was recorded.
It was recorded. So they had us record a document to an address that they're claiming that they hadn't been at in 8 years. I'm gonna probably move forward and deny that. My recommendation would be to deny based on the fact that the address update is their responsibility, and they've had several years to do that.
If that's a motion, I can second that motion unless there's
Okay.
further
We
discussion.
can,
can-
and
we
that's what
can
the
leave it.
recommendation is, so we can move forward.
Yeah, we can leave that one on.
Okay, we can leave that one on.
Okay.
And that's all I had.
All you have? Can we go back and just, I want some clarifications on the Stokes. They're alleging that they filed their 2020 annual property tax statement on time. They further allege that they did not receive a tax notice for 2020 until March 31st. County records indicate that the county tax notice was mailed to the address of record on July 23rd with no record of sale of said notice being returned to the, by the postal service. Do you have any more information on that? I mean, there's quite a gap. I mean, usually if usually if it's just a day or two, I can see that, but there's quite a gap in this.
I think that gap is not unusual, actually, with regard to the time that they file their statement. The assessor's office, to my understanding, then processes all those statements and then sends out billings, and the gap between the March date and the July date, I think, is not that unusual.
Not unusual?
At least that's my understanding. Is that right? Yeah, that's just the process they go through.
Okay.
That doesn't explain why they didn't get their statement, though. I mean, obviously, it was mailed, but we don't know why they would not have received the July
Until
23rd
March.
statement.
Yeah. Because they're saying we never received our tax notice until March 31st. But
Right.
I think we're saying that we actually mailed it on July.
The Postal Service has been a little slow lately.
That,
It's more than a little slow.
Well, how long have they been in business, too?
I'm not certain on that.
I don't know what we do on that one. To me, it seems like, in looking at it, I mean, we've sent them out, right? I mean, if there was some extenuating circumstances, the circumstances here are beyond our controls and probably theirs if we're taking their side with it too. I'm fine with just leaving that the way it is on the document.
Yeah, I can motion that, unless there's other discussion, I can make a motion that we deny that Stokes appeal.
Okay, we can leave that one there then. And then the last one is Williams. Okay. We're acknowledging that last year was definitely a interesting one. What do you see on that one, Adam?
So our position was that there wasn't any county error. You know, you feel bad, you know, if they got COVID around the time of the due date. However, they don't need to necessarily pay their taxes on the very last day. That could have been paid anytime before that date. And so again, because there wasn't any county error, our position that there was no legal or factual basis to grant this request.
We did give COVID some birth last year.
We did.
But my concern on this one is the assumption that in 2019, the taxes were paid at a certain time and everything was okay, and that this year they're saying that they paid again at the same time and it's not okay. So I'm not sure where that story connects.
The only way that would happen is if the last day of the November was on a weekend, so that then by law they have it the following business day to pay taxes. Otherwise, it's always due the last day of November. And I don't know whether 19 might have fallen into that category, but that's the only way it gets changed to a December date.
I can look that up for you.
We have no indication if that was like a hospitalization.
Yeah, the last day of November in 2019 was a Saturday. So
was
they
fine.
could have paid it December 2nd and been fine in
Okay.
2019.
That ties it up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I don't know if there's any changes then
Didn't
that we
see
need to
any.
take on that.
I-
on the
I don't think so,
recommendation letter.
no.
Okay.
So
only-
I'll make a motion to approve number 30 as all items as per recommended.
Which would be Maxwell, that we approve that appeal, JLC approve that appeal,
Yep, they're all stated
and
that
the
way.
rest of them
Yep.
remain
Yeah.
as, okay. Just want to verify, okay.
Yeah.
And I can second that motion.
Yeah, I've got a motion and a second to approve the property tax actions included in the recommendation letter. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Okay, Ralph. We're on number 47. I'm not going to read through this, and I'm just going to let Ralph explain it, because as we read through it, sometimes it gets a little confusing, but I'll just let him kind of explain it. It is talking about authorizing the following changes to the staffing plan. And as you'll notice on there, it says add 2, take away 1, add 2, take away 1.
Yes, Ralph Barnes, Human Resources. So my office was asked by the commission to add some changes to the staffing plan. Primarily these budget administrators for special grants is the title that we have currently come up with. The intent is to provide support on the administration of COVID-related grants and also some financial support in the commission office. So that's the intent of these two roles. There is a relationship between some of the functions in the clerk auditor office currently, and so that's why those are listed as positions that would be actually removed from the staffing plan at the same time, because some of those duties and functions would move with these roles being created. So the net, and of course these are funded by ARPA primarily, so the net would be there would be some increase in expense, but there would be an offset too by the current positions that are being eliminated. So with that being said, do you have any other questions for me, or does that explain?
These positions do not increase general fund at all.
That's correct.
So I do have a couple questions. On every other staffing position, we list the salary grade. But these positions don't have a salary grade listed. Do we have a recommendation on salary grade for those?
Yes, we do, and it wasn't listed because it was still something we were working on. We did, make some assumptions as far as what are the requirements of these positions. We did see them as a significant change from one of the current roles that this is, based upon. And if you'd like me to get into that right now, I can, or I can save it for closed session, whichever you prefer. But we do have a salary grade recommendation for this.
Okay. The other thing is just specific cost recommendations. Every other time we've done a staffing plan change, since I've been here at the county for 2.5 years, there's been specific costs, and I didn't see specific costs on this one as well. So I'm wondering, obviously, staffing plan, specific costs, workload, the same questions that we ask for every staffing plan, I haven't necessarily seen on these changes.
Yeah, we have all that data, and it's ready to go for closed session. But yes, it's not in the request.
Every time we've asked every other department for that, it's discussed in an open public meeting. And so I'm wondering why this one is being discussed in closed session, and every other staffing plan change in 2.5 years has been discussed in an open meeting, and this one is being discussed in a closed session.
And, some of that has to do with the fact that the timing and that we are working on the estimates. It wouldn't be inappropriate to expect that information is included in the, public request. That would be absolutely appropriate for that to be known.
So you do have that information
Yep.
so that we can,
And Ralph, I think that should be fully discussed, after our close. This is part of the challenge. As department heads, we have to do almost everything like this or in a closed meeting, right? Where the department heads themselves can do that on their own. And so we get an opportunity in our closed session to have some consideration and dialogue and discussion on a position. And then I think after that, when we open it back up, we should fully have all that discussion.
Yes, I agree.
okay.
Okay.
And so we did talk about funding sources on that. That would be grant funded, right?
Yeah, that's my understanding. I mean, there is some offset it really all depends on how you look at it, but it really is ARPA funded. It's funded by the ARPA grant, is the bottom line. It's just like, Commissioner Lee said, it's not coming out of the general fund. There is some, transfer of, utilization of grant funding from, clerk auditor to, the commission office, but it's essentially the same source,
Okay.
is my understanding.
And the original proposal that I saw, there was also some transfer from commission budget for these positions. Is that still in the mix?
That is my understanding, but I think that needs to be clarified still, exactly what that is and where that's coming from.
Okay. All right. So I will look forward to learning the salary grade, how we came up with the salary grade, the job function, the reasoning behind the job function, the exact costs, where that's coming from, and the justification for adding to our staffing plan.
I think those are excellent questions.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet.
So now we can, and which is interesting because there's a lot of those things that I don't even know. So I'm looking forward to it too, because it's, we'll have this discussion.
Absolutely.
So I guess now we're at the point of tabling it, this item number 47.
Yes.
Is there a motion to table it?
I guess I'll motion to table 47.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Got a motion and a second to table item number 47. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Item number 47 is now tabled. Okay, item number 48.
Capital planning
Boy,
policy.
we have gone over this one so many times.
Right?
Are we there, Rudy?
My only comment was it was so nice to open it up and it was all black. That was great. Actually, we
I
read
mean,
through
it was
this
all black.
Instead of red.
instead of
We
red,
changed it.
red
We
and
changed it
well,
because
red and blue. I mean,
Colors
it
are
was
overrated.
no, it was yeah.
It was a different shade of gray.
So no, I looked it over and I've discussed it with Richard. Patrick's out; he's out of town right now. But at this point in time, there's nothing. It got some of the key pieces in there that we thought were important. Added some other ones, and at this point, it's fine. We're okay. We'll work with whatever guidelines we have in here.
Do you have any preference on looking at things bi-monthly rather than quarterly?
I'd prefer quarterly, honestly. I just think with the project schedules and things that bi-monthly may be just a little bit, too close together. But we can work with that however the commission wants to do it.
Okay. I think quarterly maybe makes more efficiency sense. We know that they can't do anything without, no changes can be done without bringing it to the
That's
commission anyway.
correct.
I would feel comfortable making it quarterly just for the sake of efficiency for the county. And then obviously it could be more often if needed. And if any changes are needed before a quarterly meeting, you would have to come to the commission anyway. So I would be in favor of making it quarterly.
I still like the bi-monthly. And I can use the same words you have in there. If it's not needed, we can always strike it or move on. But it does give us opportunity in a commission meeting to take any action that, might be needed and necessary if needed. And so it's usually easier for us to strike it than it is to try to add something on to it. It just if it's already scheduled in.
So what you're looking at is doing bi-monthly, but then if no changes are needed, then we have the ability to strike it.
We just strike it.
That would be reasonable.
Yeah, I think that's a good compromise.
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as the attorney's okay. He's the one that likes to have all this.
I mean, part of it is a
fine.
review process,
Yeah.
right? And so if all the commissioners feel like they're up to speed and everything's reviewed and there's no decision that needs to be made or discussion that needs to be made with all three of us, then it can be easily stricken. But I think if one commissioner says, "Hey, I think that we need to have some discussion," obviously then it comes on the agenda anyway. It could be on the agenda.
Yeah. And I have some very kind of aggressive goals for where I want the budget process and everything to go over the coming years. And my personal goal is that within a year, we will probably have a system set up to where all of that information will be readily accessible to the commissioners at any time. And that will make this whole issue somewhat moot, but it'll give us a chance to discuss things where we cannot make a change without commission approval, one way or another. But my goal is to make the information much more available to the commissioners and to the public, quite frankly.
And that would be the ideal, whether it's
Yeah.
quarterly or bi-monthly, to have it in public so the public can hear
Yeah.
what's going on.
Absolutely. I'm totally in agreement with that.
In the latest edition, I didn't see, maybe I just missed it, but I didn't see, I was looking at paragraph 5 under the second paragraph, or CIP committee, second paragraph. It says CIP committee provides detailed capital improvement, et cetera. But we should have inserted in there either quarterly or bi-monthly, provides quarterly or bi-monthly detailed capital improvement program updates. And I inserted during a commission work session, so that way we can at least talk about it in public. And that's why I thought I should add those language into it.
I think it's stated somewhere else in the
where else is
policy.
that? It does say,
Under 6.
yes.
So I got blinded by paragraph 5.
I think the,
I see it's at the third paragraph in 6. It says bi-monthly.
Yeah.
bi-monthly, and if we leave it on a regular commission meeting, then the commission can take action if needed. If it's on a work session, there's no action that can be taken.
Correct.
So would it go regularly as a work session or as an action item?
It would be an
regular.
action item, and then it could either be stricken if you have nothing to do. If there is something to do, then there would be, a part of the agenda item would be a resolution to implement whatever changes you wanted to make.
Okay.
Automatically, there'd be a resolution on there for change if needed.
And Rudy and Richard, do you see any issue with that being, even though quarterly would be easier, do you have any issue with it being bi-monthly, and then if we don't need any changes, we just strike it?
I think we're fine with that.
I mean, y'all are always here for commission meeting anyway.
Yeah. No, I think that'd be fine. I don't see there's an issue with it at all, and I think it's a good idea. My concern was that I thought it read to say that we will have that every bi-monthly.
Right, that's kind of how I had read it too, and that's why I'm saying I think this is a good compromise to be able to say if it's just on the agenda, but if we don't need it, we can, by unanimous consent, we
Yeah.
can strike it.
Yeah, and that
works.
sounds very reasonable,
Yes.
for sure.
Okay.
Correct, yeah.
I wouldn't anticipate the first couple being stricken, though, because I think that we're going to want the reports to see how it runs.
Well, upcoming, and we're changing the process a little bit, and just for, we have a deadline right now of Friday to submit the new projects for consideration, and so we will be gathering a list, and we will have information
Right.
that the commission will want to be, potentially discussing in the upcoming meeting. So for sure, we'll be looking at that I think at least until we get this thing ready to the point where we're okay and we're ready to, put it on with the budget for the current year adjustment. So, yeah.
Okay. Your thoughts?
Just at subsection 5, the second paragraph, it leaves me hanging as to frequency, because it says CIP committee provides detail. If the rest of you feel that suffices, just keep it at 6, I'm fine with that. It's just that it trips me up personally as I read this. It doesn't lend to how often they will provide us reports.
Yeah, and I think
My-
6 covers that. In my estimation, it's covered in 6 in that they have to give a report every other month.
Yeah.
What-
Otherwise,
I think number 5 is more of a definition of the CIP committee and some things as opposed to.
it is, and that's why,
6 is
that's
the
why I thought the
process.
frequency would be part of that thinking of what's the function of that committee. But again, 6 covers it.
There is one little question I had on item number 8. It says in there, in the first paragraph, it says funding sources are to be reviewed each year and the 10-year CNA updated. And my question is further up, we define the CNA as the 7-year period after the first 3 CIP. So would that be better stated to say a 10-year CIP, meaning the capital improvement program, or would it be the 7-year CNA? Just, it's a technicality, but it's just, I happened to read it and thought I'd ask the question.
I think it's well taken.
I think if we change that to just where it reads the 10-year capital improvement program
Yes.
would be the correct term to
Okay.
use there,
And I think that I would agree with that.
Okay, Good.
instead of CNA.
right.
I would agree.
Good thing I went back for my notes.
So on 6, paragraph 2, there's one word, it's the second sentence, and it says the bi-monthly CIP review may include, and then it goes on and states what's included. Who determines the may? Who determines what's included in the review?
I'm sorry, which paragraph was that?
Second, it's 6, number 6.
Oh, 6, okay.
Second paragraph, second sentence. The bi-monthly CIP review may include, and then it goes on and talks about, statuses, contracting status, staging, completing timelines, so on and so forth. Who determines who determines the may?
I think that was just included for any commissioner during that review process could address any or all of those issues.
So you would come ready with all of them,
Yeah, I'll do.
and then we would ask specifics to them.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, some of them
that
may not,
makes sense.
some of those may not even be applicable on any given meeting,
Right.
but some of them may. So that's how I read it. And
Yeah, that was the intent.
I just want to make sure that when we had that review, if we asked for completion of, projected compliance with the project budgets, that you're ready for it, and you'll say, "Oh, sorry, I don't have that."
Yeah.
well, the commissioners are the ones that are in charge. So if that, whatever you're asking for and wanting, we will have it for you.
Okay, so I guess it's understood then that you're ready for all those that are on there: cost overruns, availability, and price
Unless you-
changes. All those things will be ready, and then we can just ask the question.
Unless you're looking for the word shall.
Well, shall is.
Then they have to include some that
has
may
to
not be
include,
applicable.
yes.
They have to talk about every one of those, which may not be needed.
Right, correct. And that's, I think, why it was kind of broad brushed that way.
The last part of that paragraph also says, I think this sort of clarifies it, and other issues deemed appropriate by the board. So it is the board that's inquiring into any of those or more issues.
Yeah, and the way that I had envisioned that when we talked about it was in those meetings, we basically can ask, what's the update on every one of your projects? And sometimes the update might be, we're still in the bidding process, or, but that's how I had looked at it, so that we have the opportunity to ask where any of the updates are and how things are tracking.
And I
I'm sure all
anticipate
three of
them.
us are going to be different. I may
Yeah.
focus in on scheduling or overlap or cost overruns or, change orders, stuff like that, where somebody else.
Even
may be
bringing in
looking
our
at-
background, you're gonna know what questions to ask for HVAC, and I'm gonna know what questions to ask for heavy machinery,
Right.
right?
And that's what I was going to say, that each one of you will have different things. And I would anticipate that if there are projects that you're particularly interested in, that you will queue that up a little bit ahead of time so that we are all, maybe we'll have even a little side discussion on, one-on-one or whatever to kind of, go over, make sure that we're all, on the same page and we get the information that you're actually wanting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
I'm happy with where we got to with this. I think this is great, and we just introduced this last year. I think we've had a great time to working with the committee to modify this. I'm ready to make a motion to approve. So
And Rudy, you've gone through a lot.
yeah,
We all did. We all have gone through a lot. And, I'll be honest with you, I came in from the outside where I've seen other CIP programs. And this is in its infancy. We're not where we want to be ultimately, but we've made a lot of progress. And, this is this is another step in that process.
yeah. I think what's really great to point out on this whole process and what we've done here is this thing came about in 2019. The concept of an official capital improvement planning policy. It came about in a recommendation from an S&P audit, right? And so we as a county received this recommendation from an outside entity, from a credit rating entity. We took it, we looked at what other people do, and we implemented a best practice. Then we worked through that process for just over a year and figured out what parts of that best practice work for us and which ones we need to tweak. And then we worked together with the committee and all three commissioners and legal. And I feel like we've really come together and melded. I think this is a perfect example of how we can get things done and how we can work together and have a great solution. So-
And this isn't the final step in this process either.
Right.
We are going to continue to improve it.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah,
Continuous improvement.
Hey, ameliorate, isn't that what we call it?
Absolutely. Definition of the word.
Then I'll
So with that said, I'm ready to make a recommendation, and I will move that we accept item number 48
With the one modification.
with the one
With the one
modification.
modification.
Yeah.
To replace in paragraph 8, 10-year CNA with 10-year capital improvement program.
Yes, to replace
Yeah.
10-year CNA with 10-year capital improvement program.
I can second that motion.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Okay.
Good job, Rudy. Good job, Richard. You too, Dave.
Thanks. Okay. Number 49 is to approve and adopt a resolution amending the 2021 Utah County budget. This was a continuance. We've had lots of discussion on this.
Rudy, you're getting your
Back and
steps in.
forth.
Go back and
Yeah, I went over there and I thought, where am I going? So,
Go ahead and outline, unless you want me to, but go ahead and.
if you want to, Bill, Commissioner Lee, sorry.
That's fine. Okay, this one has multiple parts to it. And if it's all right, Rudy, I'm going to address them a little bit in silos. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
that's the way that
Okay.
we should be looking at them.
agree.
So
Which one are you referring to, Bill?
I'm going to refer to, let's first go, I think it's important that we look at the budget memo that was sent out. That's in there as well. And then we can flow through those documents. The budget memo has in there's an increase to the transfer to the capital improvement project fund. This is 7.579, so $7.5 million roughly. And we're going to move that money. That's some of the monies that was an increase to represent the amount of federal CARES Act funds, to offset payroll costs. This is one of the final legs that we're with when it comes with the CARES money. There's some timelines for us that we have to meet pretty quick in the way of making sure they offset appropriately. Mm-hmm. This is one that we've been talking about that I think is needed and necessary, and it will kind of finally move that into the rear view mirror to be used in the front mirror. How's that? The second one is the increase in the recorder's department. And that's roughly a $1.7 million. That was voted on for the recorder's office. And that's to include those 15 positions that are in there. The third one is to increase to the IT department, an increase of $250,000. That one goes to the IT department. Both these were approved by the commission, to move forward. So those two we've already agreed to. It's a matter of now accounting purposes, making sure we get them in the right buckets so that they can be administered. The fourth one. This one here is an adjustment. So we set up our 680. Now, if you want to go click on the next tabulation, it says Fund 680 Allocation. If you click on that one, you'll see the cost allocation by percentage of budget, and also the cost allocation percentage by wages. If you total those down to the bottom and add those two up, you'll see that roughly $7.6 million, which will allow us now to fully cost grants, funded administrative costs, and these monies will be looked at primarily from the different departments as internal service funds money, in the sense that it's in their budgets to be used for internal service funds. These will be in the budget just like internal service funds. They can't be tapped into to be used for other things. They'll be used specifically for this, and so those funds, that $7.6 million, then will be moved. We already have it. It's just a matter of moving it.
Yeah, and that's one comment
Sure,
that I wanted to make
absolutely.
clarifications, because when we set up the Admin Services Fund we moved it out of the general fund and we set up a budgeted item in there of $5 million for this purpose in that fund. But when we set this up, we did not allocate that out to the individual departments, nor did we set up the allocation in the other funds. But we are not transferring money from the general fund over to the other departments. We are simply taking money that was generally in restricted funding in those departments and moving that in to the 5680 account, which is the Internal Services for Admin Services Fund. And so we're not moving money from general fund with this. We're just setting up the individual department budgets within all of the funds in the county.
Yes. And if you move to the next tab, this is Exhibit A. Is it A? Exhibit A. That's our schedule. And if you look on our schedule, on page 18 of our schedule, you'll see a revenue of $99,250, and then you'll see operating expenses down below. There's a $10,000 in records management. There's auditor's office for $89,250. Of course, those two added up is a complete offset. What those add up to is there's a $21,650 to the auditor's budget for a final payment to Questica implementation. There's a long history. I'm not going to go through the history on it. I think the commissioners probably have their own information on that. The second one is the $17,000 to the auditor's budget for the Gravity software program. The third one is $600 to the auditor's budget for the purchase of a standing desk. And then there's $10,000 to record management for the annual license of DocuSign, and $50,000 to the annual budget for a new contract management software. So that's what we have. And of course, then the last pop-up on that is the resolution that kind of states it and puts it all into place. Mm-hmm. That's where we're at. I'll tell you where I feel comfortable. I feel comfortable in transferring all on the memo status, which of course is at $7.5 million, the increase to the recorder's department and the IT department, the adjustment to the administrative services fund. I'm personally fine with moving all those as stated. And then number one on the other one, there's $21,650. And maybe I can go back. All of these that we're talking about here are pretty much agreed to, or they're county functions, countywide.
Correct.
countywide functions.
Right, and some of their costs that were agreed to last year, but the invoice didn't become due, so they were put in Fund 100.
Right.
Right.
Yep. Well, yeah, that's what, and so the other items that we have on the Schedule A, there's the 21,650. That's the Questica implementation. There was some money that was moved around back and forth on that, and we had that history from last year of quarter versus 3/4 and 1 year, and so there was some movement around, which went to the 100 account. And I totally get that. I'm in favor of that move. But the rest of them I'm not, and I'll explain why. The $17,000 for the auditor's budget for the Gravity software program has no material consequence to us, except for it's going to be a better product that Rudy will give to us. But I think that can go to a budget process for next year. We'll still get the same information. It just won't be as pretty. I don't know if that's fair or not, but
It won't be as much information and won't be as good of information. But what that is to be clear, so we're all understanding, that is for a software package to allow us to prepare a budget book in the way that we believe it should be appropriately done. And so it's the maintenance fee and a one-time cost to implement it. So that's what we're asking for now.
What would be the ongoing? It looks like the ongoing is 5,000, and then the one-time implementation is 12,000.
That's correct.
Okay, and so what you're proposing, Commissioner, is that we incur the 12,000 in the budget process next year, is what you're thinking, that implementation, so that you want to implement it in 2022 rather than 2021?
yeah, we allow it to go through the.
The 17,000 to
Process.
the auditor, which includes the software ongoing 5,000 and a one-time implementation. Is that out
Be
correctly?
the full
That's correct.
17. Yeah.
Right,
I think the $600, for the desk is, should be something that's absorbed by the clerk auditor's office. The $10,000 for the records management, we just barely signed a PO for that, and in our 680 account, there is $60,000 under contract management. That PO was tagged in the contract management side, which is about a little over $9,000 to get that done. And so that has already been paid for out of the contract management line that we have there. And then the add of $50,000 to the auditor budget for the new contract management. If we take the $9,000 out of the $60,000, we have more than $50,000 in there. Granted, it may cost more into the future, but even if we were to go on right now and sign a contract, more than likely we'd be looking at next year for this. If it was a double, I mean, if you're looking at accounting processes, you pay, $50,000 this year and $50,000 next year. So I think that can go through the budget process.
so what you're looking at is the $60,000 line item that we have for contract management. You basically want to use that to pay for numbers 4 and 5. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because we already did on 4. 4 has already been tagged as the
Right, and I
as
think-
the source.
So we have the money in the contract management line item for number 4 and 5, and you're saying to just transfer. So is the request to transfer that from that line item to the auditor budget to pay for these?
No, the request was for an additional 10,000 for that DocuSign. That was really the request, because that was a new item that came up where my understanding is that we were using a free version and we were being forced by the vendor to switch to the professional version, which is fine. And so we didn't have any money, and so that's where we put it, essentially borrowing it from that project. But if that's where we need to pay for it from, it's something that could certainly be done. One comment I would make probably is that the reason we have all these little pieces here and there is because when we set up Fund 680, we didn't set up a restricted fund to cover any new stuff or bumps on the road that happen. And so we're just trying to, get a few things taken care of here.
Okay.
So some of the stuff wouldn't be a problem moving it, more forward into the next budget cycle. Some of them, it would make it a little bit more difficult to get some things done, but we'll reevaluate a few
So this is
things.
part of ironing out the bumps of transferring to the service fund.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, if there is money in the contract management line item, I have no problem having the DocuSign absorbed into that. So, so I would agree with you on item number 4 in particular, that we add that into the existing contract management line item. So I'm good with that on number 4.
And that'd be something they can decide to do. It doesn't have to be any direction from us, I think.
Right.
It's already
That's
done.
correct.
It's already done.
It's already
Already
taken out
Yeah,
of
it's
there.
already done.
We're just talking about what we see at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
So there were 2 more items on that. Did you want to go through that first before I discuss?
That was it, and I think the overall with this is that when we opened up, and this is kind of a broader perspective, when we opened up the budgets, we did it very narrow. It was to look at reducing the tax rate and finding cuts, and so to look at now, because some of these here, if we were to add them in, it would be an add to the clerk auditor's balance. And so this is an addition. We did not open that up to all the departments for adjustments on there. It was very narrow, and so I'm sensitive to adding anything to a budget, mid-year on this one, especially when I think that we can cover it through this contract management software program that's already in there. We can manage it appropriately, because that's what we've been asking all the departments to do so far, is live within their budget that they have, and the rest of them we can take care of. Or if the clerk auditor decides that's an ongoing next year priority, can put that into the priority process.
So I have a couple. I think that makes sense. I've got a couple things that I want to put in here, like the number 3, the standing desk for key management for the back pain. Ralph, is there any budget in HR to deal with accommodations for medical accommodations?
It is limited. We usually expect.
You probably have to come up, Ralph. You have to come up. Those online can hear.
So is this, like an ADA accommodation?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Like
we-
they could get a letter from their doctor saying this
Yeah.
would help them. Yeah.
Yeah, so, the short answer is no. We normally expect the department to absorb accommodation costs. We have a small amount of money set aside for, fit for duty and things of that nature, that we could utilize some of those funds if needed, if a department was very short. But, typically when we get an accommodation request and it is approved and it's shown to be reasonable, at that point, we make the recommendation, the department usually finds a way to fund that. But
Okay.
we are available to help.
Do we have any estimates on what that would cost year over year? Just this raises a question for me. I look at it at $600, and as far as accommodating a medical condition for an employee, I think that's a very small ask. But sometimes if we have departments that we're asking them to absorb that, I could see that becoming an ask. I think maybe moving forward, I think right now we could ask the department to absorb that cost, but I think in the future, this raises a flag that I wonder if we could even put something like $2,000 a year aside that we could put in HR to accommodate. I think that that's a very reasonable request. Something like a standing desk to help with back pain is, I think, very reasonable, right? An ergonomic chair or an ergonomic keyboard, for example. I think these things I think they're reasonable accommodations, and in the long run, they will save us workers' comp claims.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did this come to your office for?
Yes.
It did. Okay. So it did go through that process.
It
So
did.
that seems. This is probably a budget item, that we look
Right.
at, right, for next year.
So even,
Right.
I feel comfortable funding it this year, knowing that it did come through your office and that it's ADA. I didn't know that. That was a great question, Commissioner Lee. And so I feel okay funding this, knowing that it's that. And then I think in the future, that is something that we need to consider. We
think
need
it's
to
a great
look at our
idea.
workforce as an asset rather than a liability. And I think it's maybe something we can look at in the next budget cycle. So,
There are a lot of accommodations that actually don't have any costs associated with them. They're like schedule changes or workspace, changes, but there is a fair amount that do have a cost associated with them. And the general rule of thumb is $500. Above that starts to look at, may be unreasonable, but every case has to be looked at individually. And I actually think having a few, $1,000 set aside for this is a great plan.
Yeah.
I really do.
This is already paid for and done.
This one, was my understanding, it's been purchased. It's,
There was no money paid for.
yeah,
Yeah.
So it was in purchase in-house by the department.
that's correct.
I think moving forward, just like you were saying, for future, I think that's something maybe we could consider in the budget. So Ralph, help us consider that as we go through the budget season next year. In the meantime, I think maybe we should just be sensitive to that. I don't think we necessarily need to add it to the budget this year, but what we could do is if there's excess money at the end of the year in any of these budgets, we could be open to a transfer to pay for some of these things if necessary, from one,
Needed
like a
at the
restricted.
end of the year.
If needed at the end of the year.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that's a good compromise to say, look, if needed at the end of the year, we would be willing to facilitate or to vote for budget transfers to cover these types of expenses.
If we see ourselves short.
But yeah, if a department
Overall.
sees themselves short because they covered these expenses, and if they see themselves short, I would be open to transfer money without raising the budget, to be sensitive to what you were saying. So
Well, by the end of the year, it's possible that there could be some salary savings that could be used.
That's exactly what
for
I'm getting
these
at.
As well.
At the end of the year, we always
Typically
do.
don't like using salary savings for,
Right.
but one-time money or whatever is a, perfect.
But I almost look at ADA accommodations as part of their salary and benefits almost, So I would think maybe we could consider that during the end of the year budget adjustment if necessary for departments, if they have excess costs because they've done that. So I would consider that. So obviously, I'm just going to run through real quick if you don't mind. So number one, I agree with you, Commissioner Lee, that looks like a reasonable expense and it doesn't actually affect the general fund because we're just transferring funds.
Countywide.
It's countywide. Number two, I would say if we want to look at number two, let's look at it possibly under ARPA because it would make it so that we can communicate with the public in a more transparent manner. I don't think we need to adjust the general fund for that. But I would say maybe if we want to consider it, let's look at it under ARPA because it's increased communications electronically with the public. But I agree with Commissioner Lee that we don't necessarily need to fund that at this time with the general fund. But let's look at that under ARPA.
Sure.
Number three, I'm going to agree that we don't do the transfer at this time. However, if a department goes over budget at the end of the year because they were making disability accommodations for employees, I think that we should consider allowing them to transfer salary and or benefits that are that are under at the end of the
More
year to cover
approved
that.
by the HR department.
Obviously, as approved by the HR department, I think that's a critical piece, just like you said, a critical piece for that. Number four, I think finding that money in the current contract management system is a good place to find it. I like that. I would agree with that. Number five, is that an addition? Is that?
It's an additional 50,000 is what was requested.
Yeah, I would need more information on that. Did it go to an RFP? Did we evaluate that with other, if that's a software that they're asking for, I would like to see an ROI on that. I would like to see if there was an RFP on that. I don't
I
have
don't think
that.
we have anything on that.
They're in the
There's no-
process right now of working on that, from my understanding. And so maybe the solution to that one is let's look at it when we actually get the actual, the bids in, and then we can talk about.
Yeah, and then we can
wanna
see if
do.
there's the ROI for it. I would agree with
Yeah.
that.
And we currently have over $50,000 in there now.
Okay. Yeah, so if we currently have that in there now, let's look at RFPs and let's see. So I would agree with you on that one, Commissioner Lee. And that obviously would adjust number six. Okay?
So that would take number six, or if I can recap, Commissioner Sakovic, some thoughts that you have?
No, I'm with number one and number two. Can see ARPA being involved in this. In addition to transferring funds for number one, that's a possibility. I would like that the number three, that should be absorbed by the departments until we have otherwise set up something that would be more equitable for all departments. And the number four, yes, that cash is already there. 50,000 for the number five. as Commissioner Gardner was pointing out, I'd like to have additional information. That came 10 days after, this email came 10 days after the memo. And when we finished up opening the budget, I thought we were pretty much done, and that's why I had been a little taken off center on this one. But that's where I am with this one. As for the memo, I need to reemphasize that the transfer to the Capital Improvement Projects Fund is CARES Act money that we had used to offset costs for public safety. And so there's no cost to the public. It is about $430,000 short of what I was proposing a few weeks ago, but that works fine. And that will add to where we are going to look ahead and see what we have to do with our current buildings and where we may increase our footprint elsewhere in the county. The increase in the Recorder's Department, the public should be aware, and I'll reemphasize it, that this is existing revenue from fees paid by those that use the Recorder's office. So there's no tax increase on that one at all. That's existing funds. And the increase in the IT department, that $250,000, that is also comes from recorder's fees to support the recorder's office. And so there's no tax increase on that one. And the Administrative Services Fund allocation, that's funds that already exist in the county that's allotted to support the various departments and their functions by other departments. But I just want to bring that out to the public notice.
Okay. So maybe to recap for a motion, and if I'm off, because I think I've got a sense for where we're all at, but I'm going to go back and focus on the exhibit. So everything that we have on the exhibit, with the memo, and I think the memo is on the exhibit anyway. But anyway, it is on the, it's on there. So agreed to everything on the exhibit with the changes that are like this. I'm on page 18 under the Administrative Services, the 680. It says intergovernmental revenue. If you go across for the proposed on that, it says 99,250. That number be changed to 21,650, and of course, then the total would be the 21,650. You go down to the records management. That has a 10,000. That will be stricken out. That'll be zero. You go down, to the other materials and supplies. That'll be zero. You go to the auditors, which now has $89,250 on there. That will be reduced down to the 21,650, and then the line item that says other materials, supplies, and services will be 21,650.
And I would make one more comment on that. These changes will impact something in general fund because we put that number from non-departmental, where there's a transfer in there from, not non-departmental, but there's a transfer on Fund 100 to 680. So that would also be reduced down to the 21,650.
Correct.
So we'll fix that as well.
Yes.
I just want to make sure we get all the bookkeeping.
Say that again, because
in Fund 100, we were accounting for that transfer of $99,000 into Fund 680, and because that will not be happening, that'll only be 21,650
Right.
or 690, I believe it is.
650.
650.
Yeah, then we need to reduce on page 4 of 20, reduce
I see what
that from
you're doing.
99,250 down to 21.
Yes.
That $21,000
Yeah,
number.
that's good. Yeah. So it captures,
Correct.
runs all the way
Got it.
through. Okay.
I will make a motion to approve as outlined by Commissioner Lee.
Okay.
And I can second that motion.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes 3-0.
Can we be done opening the budget until the end of the year?
I don't want to touch it again.
Because we've got a lot of other work to do as a county, and we can't do it when we're
Lots.
doing this.
No.
So now that we've adjusted
say
the budget
never.
as many times as the last 7 years combined, I'm thinking one at the end of the year should be good.
Can I just reiterate, and Commissioner Lee brought this up, this proposal was not created by the commission. This was created by our office. It happened to come at the tail end of 2 months of discussion on the budget because of the tax rate. This is something that you should anticipate mid-year every year.
Every year.
Is that we'll do like an omnibus, everything that we're aware of, the realities since we set the budget at the end of each year as we close the books and get halfway through the year. we will look at what's off. We'll make recommendations as we did here. So it looks like it was part of these other things, but it really will just be an annual mid-year recommendation from our office with explanations.
Which is standard every year. Every year there's a mid-year adjustment and then there's an end-of-year adjustment.
The only thing I would ask on that is just that that the commissioners are fully involved in that, that we see it. We know what it is, and of course, then a commissioner is the one that puts it on the agenda,
That sounds very reasonable. We'll have discussions
even the
beforehand.
documents. Okay, all right, let's move.
We'll give them this. We'll put the schedule together and help them.
We are, there's no, let's see, let me get to my,
I wonder if we could make, if we're going to go close for number 18, if we can make that and then go right back to regular agenda so we can get the results and go back to close for the other legal items. Would that be appropriate?
I think.
oh, you mean because they're here?
Yes.
I got
Because
it,
the
got
guests are
it. I agree with that.
Yep.
So thank you for being here. We're now going to move into our closed meetings. But I do need to ask, are there any, since everyone's here, is there any public comment? General public comment?
We're going to get to you right next.
Okay, seeing none, we're going to move into our closed
Close,
meeting,
okay.
dealing with number 18.
Goodbye.